Hello everybody, Mara Carranza, and I'm translating today a video that one of my co-workers did that was regarding AMLO's video, and he says, and I'm translating there, it says, AMLO says anybody, any citizen is a journalist. And then that's what this video is going to be about, so I'm going to translate it right now. Okay, here goes.
Todos los ciudadanos son periodistas.
All the citizens are journalists. Many of them, including, have more capacities.
Que los mismísimos doctores de Harvard.
They have better.
El presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
Some of them have better understanding than the ones that have had a doctorate from Harvard. Who said? The president of Mexico.
Por supuesto, notificando a todos los poderes fifís, fácticos, mermeleros, chayoteros.
And of course, in doing so, he let all the journalism people that had employed the journalists in order to play their dirty war by having deceptive journalism. From Mexico, from Hispanic America, Latin America, the whole world. Between those who had as property a media, and they believed themselves to be the owners of the truth. This has changed.
Ahora todos tienen, no sé si todos, pero mucha gente tiene esto de acá.
He says everybody, I mean maybe not everybody, but a lot of people has one of these, and he uses his phone to show.
Es muy posible que alguien tenga acceso a esto de acá, y esto es una.
And it is very possible that someone could have access to this.
Pequeña estación de televisión.
It's like a little TV station
que va en el bolsillo.
That fits in your pocket.
Vamos a hablar sobre esto. Mi nombre es Juan José del Castillo.
So his name is Juan José del Castillo, and he works with RBC International. And he said, this is what we're going to talk about today.
Bienvenidos al programa de hoy.
And he said, welcome to our program today.
Bienvenidos a RBC Internacional.
And he said, welcome to RBC Internacional, which is international.
Voz y alma de Latinoamérica.
It's the voice and soul of Latin America.
Quiero que comencemos viendo este video en la que el presidente, como ya nos tiene acostumbrados, hace cátedra.
So he says, I want us to start by watching this video where the president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, has a cathedral.
Cada una de sus programas.
And every one of his programs is like a cathedral.
Hacer un check-in para ver si es que todo está como debe ser. Por favor, ustedes me ayudan si es que a veces intento salir y el audio no está como debiera.
So he's just checking to see if audio and everything's well.
Todo está bien. Jota, buenas tardes, saludos amigos del chat. Ya has hecho una comunidad acá en el chat.
He says they have a community here in this chat. It looks like everything's going well.
Sí, acá. Está publicado mi Twitter, Twitter, le dicen los gringos, Twitter. Twitter es otra herramienta poderosa.
He says he has Twitter.
Vamos a
It's marked right there.
Una parte de la conferencia matutina del presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
So he says we're going to be showing a part of the conference, of the morning conference of Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
Esto en función a una referencia que le hace el periodista.
And he is the president in function, who's in office now, and this is a reference to a question that a journalist made of him.
De la nueva generación, pese a ser un hombre ya entrado en años, Carlos Pozo, Lord Molécula, y le habla de esta relación que hay con con los medios, porque tengo entendido,
So Lord Molecular asked him about this relationship he has with the media.
hacen una reunión, tenían la costumbre, o tienen la costumbre de hacer una reunión de los dueños, los directores de los medios, se reúnen y normalmente se reunían con el presidente.
So in the past, the media people, the big moguls, used to meet with the ex-president.
Supongo que las reuniones en tiempos pasados eran absolutamente distintas. Usted se imagina una
And I believe that in the past, the meetings with the media were absolutely different.
reunión, un coctelito, ¿no? Con el dedo así, pulgar para arriba.
He says, yeah, they used to have the little cocktail with their finger propped, the little pinky finger propped up.
Estaba Peña Nieto, en la que estaba Calderón, en la que estaba Fox.
And he says that's where Calderón, Fox, and Peña Nieto were.
Sí, y los dueños de los medios fifís tiene que ser bien distinta a la relación.
So he says, so the relationship between the news media moguls and the relationship that he had with those presidents and the one he has with this president must be very different.
Que tiene ahora y esta reunión que va a tener el presidente el día de hoy, ¿no? Tengo entendido que va a ser media tarde, ¿no? Se va a una cena, no es una media tarde, una cosa así. Ok, escuchemos primero lo que dijo el presidente y quiero que me acompañen a el minuto 1:56 con 22. ¿Sí? 1:56 con 22 y escuchen lo que dice el presidente.
So he says that it's at 1:56:22, and this is what the president said.
¿Cómo que esto acá? Desde acá. A ver, usted me dice si escucha.
Pero cualquier ciudadano puede decir, no estoy de acuerdo contigo con esto y eso.
He says any person could say, I'm not in agreement with this here, using his phone.
Cualquier ciudadano es periodista. Sí.
And any citizen can be a journalist.
Cada ciudadano ahora es un medio de comunicación.
He said every person, every citizen is now a communication media tool.
Antes eran pocos los medios de comunicación.
Before, there was only a few media of communication.
Se hablaba prensa escrita,
And they used to say the written press,
radio, televisión.
radio or television.
Ahora todo el que tiene un móvil
And he says now anyone who has a mobile phone
está participando.
is participating.
Y son millones.
And there are millions.
Y tienen la misma posibilidad de comunicar.
And they have the same possibility of communicating
Que otros,
as others.
¿cómo no?
Miles, cientos de miles,
Thousands, hundreds of thousands,
millones de ciudadanos
millions of citizens
que tienen esto,
that have this.
un celular y que ya no tienen que danzar al compás
And they have one of these, a cellular, and they do not have to dance to the rhythm of the tune,
de los malévolos fifís
of the malevolent Fifi press, which is the press that is propaganda press, the one that's paid to give the false information. It's called Fifi in Mexican.
que antes por ser dueño de la imprenta, por ser dueño de la cámara, el micrófono,
So in the past times, because they owned the company that had the media, or they owned the camera or the microphone or the whatever equipment,
de la estación, por haber tenido los amigos necesarios para tener el
or because they had the friends that were necessary to have them under control.
propiedad de una frecuencia, ¿no? Y tener la fortuna además y los contactos para
So they had the fortune to have the contacts
financiarlo, ¿sí? Porque para financiar un canal muchas veces lo que tienes
And then also you had to be able to finance it. In order to finance channel,
que tener es el acceso al chayote inmenso, ¿no?
and you would have to have access to lots of money, which they call chayote, which is the money they paid the press.
Ahora no, ahora ya no es necesario.
No longer, it is no longer necessary.
Andrés Manuel el día de hoy les vuelve a hacer acordar, y tiene que ver mucho con lo que pasó ayer en la conferencia.
And today, Andrés Manuel lets him know, makes him remember, and it has a lot to do with what happened yesterday at the press conference.
¿No? Estos tres sujetos que irrumpieron en la conferencia, se apropiaron del micrófono.
So these three subjects that entered and forced their way and took control of the microphone for about an hour.
De una hora, y Andrés Manuel que los trató con toda la forma democrática.
And Andrés Manuel López Obrador, they treated him with all the form, all the properness.
Resultan ahora siendo las víctimas los fifís chayoteros.
So they turned themselves into the victims, and these fifís that were being paid,
No solo de México, Hispanoamérica, del mundo,
not just from Mexico, Hispanic America, but the world,
intentan cambiar la verdad,
and they attempt to change the truth,
y ya es imposible ocultar,
but now it's impossible to hide it.
¿sí? Porque el presidente, el día de ayer, a estos tres chayoteros que
Because the president, yesterday, to these three chayoteros, which is those press people that are paid,
estuvieron, les dijo, oiga, y en los otros tiempos, cuando habían periodistas que tenían que exiliarse,
he said to them, hey, what about in the other times when newspaper people or journalists used to have to go into exile
por el solo hecho de haber dicho la verdad? ¿Quién
for the only thing was they said was the truth?
lo defendió?
And who defended them?
Y Andrés Manuel le hizo acordar a la ley chayote que tuvo ahí, muy española ella,
And he, Andrés Manuel, made her come to attention when he said to this Spanish lady, very Spanish lady,
le dijo, oye, el país de España
he said the country of Spain
a mí me sacó 8 editoriales,
wrote 8 editorials on me,
¿no? Saltándome al cuello de la peor manera.
and they jumped on my throat in the worst way,
Me dijo lastre,
and they called me a lastre, which is like a leech, like a parasite.
¿no? Y no me dio en ese momento, en su espacio, capacidad de respuesta, pero
And at that time, they did not give me, in their space, the opportunity to respond.
felizmente ya existían las redes sociales.
But fortunately for me, already the webs existed,
Yo pude dar mi punto de vista.
and I was able to put out my point of view.
Por supuesto, esto les ha ardido
And of course, this has burned them
de una manera increíble,
in an incredible way.
a los chayoteros y a los fifís. Quiero que
These chayoteros and these fifís. And he says, I want you to see this.
vean cómo es que el diario El País de España, no sé si hace, no cubre la noticia, porque en realidad ellos no hacen una cobertura de noticias, sino emiten opiniones.
And he says, so this is Spain, their periodical, and they've done some coverage, not really coverage because they don't really do any investigation.
Yo emito opinión,
He says, it's more of an opinion, and I emit my opinion,
¿ya? Pero digo que emito opinión.
but I say that I am emitting my opinion.
¿Ya? Y tengo una línea definida, yo no estoy
And I have defined line.
intentando hacer creer que yo soy un comentador de noticias
I don't try to make myself appear to be a news commentator.
que quiero ver las cosas desde una imparcialidad,
I don't try to say that I'm looking at things impartially.
¿no? Yo estoy parcializado con la verdad,
He says, I am partial to the truth.
estoy parcializado con todos aquellos que queremos estigmatizar a la corrupción.
And I am joined with those, all of those that want to stigmatize corruption,
como el día de ayer dijo Andrés Manuel,
as the president yesterday had said, Andrés Manuel.
pero quiero que vean la manera como el diario El País de España
So I want you to see how this newspaper, El País de España, now mind you, Juan José del Castillo is in Peru. He's not a Mexican person who's defending his president. He's a person, an outsider from another country that can see what is happening. And he took the time to do the research and see what exactly Spain had to say about what happened yesterday. And this is what he found in their newspaper.
¿no? Que le sirve como referente y tribuna, por ejemplo, al deslucido Vargas Aya.
So he says that this is what they use to illustrate Vargas Aya.
Perdón, Vargas Aya, no, a gran amigo mío, el doctor Vargas Aya. Me refiero a Mario Vargas Llosa.
Oh, he says that wasn't him. It's Vargas Llosa.
Mario, a este deslucido Mario.
That he looked unshiny.
Vargas Llosa. Y vean cómo es que el día de hoy, el diario País de España trata de buscar una defensa que a esas alturas ya...
So see how the newspaper El País of Spain tried to hide and find some kind of defense for what was indefensible.
Nadie le cree, pues.
And nobody believes them.
Esa es la verdad. Ya la sarta de sinvergüenzuras.
So nobody believes them. People know that they're up to no good.
En las que han incurrido los hacen absorben verdades que la sociedad tiene derecho a saber.
Sometimes they have truths which the society has the right to know.
Verdades que la sociedad tendría derecho a opinar.
Things that society would have the right to give their opinion on.
Para saber cómo se manejan los fondos públicos.
To know how the public funds are being handled.
De su país, por ejemplo. Pero
of their own country, for example.
El chayote de España.
So the chayote of Spain is.
El chayote de España le ha danzado un baile, el baile del ombligo, cual por...
So the chayoteros have done a dance, a belly dance for them.
Sana, a su opositor incluso, a su opositor histórico.
And they've done it to their, inclusively to their historical opposer.
No, del Partido Popular, a Mariano Rajoy.
To the popular party, Mariano Rajoy.
Ya. Creo que Rubalcaba, el señor Rubalcaba, que me parecía un hombre decente.
And he says, I think that Rubalcaba, who I used to think was a decent man,
siempre miró por sobre el hombro al país, al chayote de España.
And he always looked over the shoulder of the chayotes of Spain.
¿Sí? El chayote de España, de estas tierras, ¿no? de sus majestades.
So the chayote of Spain, of their majesties,
sus majestades, se revuelca en sus propias mentiras.
They revel and roll around in their own lies.
Y es más, presenta la noticia el día de ayer, porque acá dicen, no, bueno, lo que pasa que el señor presidente no tuvo.
And they present the news in such a way that they say, oh, the president, Manuel López Obrador, he couldn't
Por la respuesta, ¿no?
Commit to the response.
No, voy a leerles acá una pequeña parte, ¿no?
And I'm going to read you a small part right here.
Recuerdo casi unas 8 columnas del país en España.
And I recall almost 8 columns of the El País, which is their newspaper of Spain.
Donde hubo una elección en México titular Obrador es un lastre.
And where they had said in their title that Obrador or Manuel was a leech.
Y tienen que reconocerlo porque sí publicaron eso,
And they have to recognize it because they did publish that.
¿no? Y dicen, no, lo que pasa es que fue derrotado en el 2006.
So they say, no, what it is that he was beat in 2006 in the election.
Acá estoy poniendo,
And he says, I'm putting it here.
subrayo que lo vean.
And I'm underlining it so you
No, lo
can
que
see.
pasa es que nosotros dijimos que era un lastre porque esto era pues, consecuencia
So we said that he was a leech because it was in consequence
de la derrota que tuvo en el
regarding his losing at the election.
2006. No estoy inventando nada, el texto está ahí, lo pueden
I'm not inventing anything. You could read it right there.
encontrar. Lo que el chayote de España oculta de manera perversa
So what the chayote of España hid in a perverse way was,
y ni siquiera tiene la valentía de mencionarlo en la distancia,
and they don't even have the strength or valor to announce it at a distance,
que debería tomar uno con el tiempo de los errores.
that you would do after a time when you found out your errors.
El chayote de España ni siquiera menciona que en el año 2006
They do not even mention that in the year 2006,
Andrés Manuel López Obrador
Andrés Manuel López Obrador,
a los electores en México y a Hispanoamérica entera,
so the people that elected him in Mexico, in Latin America,
en términos generales, le arrebataron el triunfo electoral
they stole the electoral triumph from him
legítimamente obtenido
that he had legitimately obtained.
en las urnas. El chayote de España,
So the chayote of Spain,
si el chayote del país de España, lo repito, lo pongo con negrita y
and he says, I'm putting it in bold, el chayote of Spain,
subrayado,
underlined,
en un acto de
capital words,
contrición, de pedir disculpas porque
instead of asking for forgiveness,
no informaron
because they did not inform
como debieron haber
the way they should have done
informado a sus lectores
to their readers
que tienen el derecho o que
that had the right
tenían el derecho de estar informados
to be informed
del tremendo fraude electoral que
of the tremendous electoral fraud
hubo contra la determinación democrática del
that went against the electoral determination of the people
pueblo de México y
of Mexico
contra Andrés Manuel López.
and against Andrés Manuel López Obrador. So this is just the beginning of this video. I just wanted to know, this guy is such a good man, he's so good at it. But it's just so you know the kind of things we're dealing with when it comes to the media. They're incredibly abusive. They're abusing the power of the media, and thank God for the webs. Thank God. And that's what they call in Andrés Manuel says, benditas redes sociales, which means the holy social webs, which they're talking about the people. The people are not letting them get away with anything anymore. Anything that they do, any lie that they tell, they yell it from the mountaintops and they tell it to everybody, and it's bombarded all over the internet. So they need to get a hold of themselves because people aren't falling for it anymore. And that's why neoliberalism is dying, because they don't have the control of the press anymore. And the people are finding out the truth. And they're finding out that the big interests, or the rich people, the 1%, the ones that had control of the money, the ones that have been controlling the media, have been lying to us and tricking us and stealing everything from all of us, all the Latin American people, and different places of the world, even Spain. And every part of the world you can just imagine. I mean, most parts. I mean, I can't say every part, but most parts of the world are being dealt a crooked hand by these people. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you. This goes on for a long time, but I only have a few minutes to do this today, so I thought I'd share this with you. And Jota does such an excellent job. If you understand Spanish, I would go and watch his channel on RBC Internacional. And this is going to be on my channel, English AMLOVision, because I want to share with you guys some of the things that are going on in the news in Mexico. Thanks a lot. Bye.